Greetings, welcome back to Pink Oddbird. Today what I'm here with is my October Music Vault book, and it is based on the song Unquiet Grave, and let's go ahead and take a look at it. If you guys are familiar with Penny Dreadful, you'll know one of the songs in that TV show is called The Unquiet Grave, and that's the first place where I ever heard this song. And when I first heard it, I absolutely loved it. And so with that song, I didn't really want to go like into the dark Gothic style of the Penny Dreadful show. I wanted it to be a little bit lighter, but still Gothic. And that kind of idea was inspired by the movie that I watched called Crimson Peak. And so if you've seen that movie, it's also a Gothic movie, but it's like snowy and everything is beautiful and snowy, but it's still Gothic. So I wanted it to be like a mix. So it's kind of nature, goth, bright and dark. If any of that even makes any sense. I'll link to all the information that you guys need down below in the description box for this song, so if you guys are interested to hear it or know some more information about it, you guys can check down there, as well as all of my thank yous for all of the items that I've used in this book as far as supplies and or tutorials go. The idea that I kind of had behind this book is that it belongs to a girl who is capable of communicating with people beyond, so kind of like a medium. So she's got the capabilities to like sort of like a medium. She can communicate with people on the other side. She can hear messages from them, and so she likes to dwell in the cemetery, and she not only hears people talking to her there, but that's like her favorite place to go and hang out. So she goes there, and so she decided to keep this as like a little keepsake book where she can keep track of things that she wants to relate to people. So like if someone tells her they want to deliver a message, or if they want to get information, this is where she houses all of that. So any kind of like photographs, notes, mementos, anything like that that she's picked up or delivered or is going to deliver will be in this book. So okay, I know it's a lot of talking, but I wanted to get all of that out of the way. So let's take a look at the outside here. So the cover is actually a repurposed book cover, and it's from the book The Queen of the Damned, and I had been saving that cover forever, and I finally found a use for it. The book cover here, you can see I just grunged it up with distress ink to make it have a little bit more aged and dirty look. And then of course we've got the Tim Holtz book corners on the edges there. I did do the banded spine, if you guys can see that here in the, there you go. So two fat bands there. And then I cover that up with some pretty fabric. So that is that is the spine. It is about 3.5 inches on the spine, so it is a big fat book. And then I believe it's about 9 by 6 or so, but the spine is definitely 3.5 inches. So I just have a piece of little ribbon here keeping it closed on the front. And then I just made like a little collage. In the song she talks about autumn leaves, so I just used my little leaf punch and I used some book pages. I have some music paper here, ephemera, just a bunch of textiles. And then I have this little piece that I picked up a while back, and if you guys can see this, it's got like little coins on it, and I thought that was kind of neat. I thought that was kind of neat because the coins have a significance with mediums where it means kind of like it's a visit from one of your loved ones, is sort of what the relationship between coins and like, you know, mediums or visitations from people that you love. So that was kind of neat. And then throughout the book, I've used a lot of this trim here, and this is a vintage. I want to say this one is actually like really a hand tatted one. It has all of the loops. Like you can see it better once we get inside the book, but it was a giant piece, and I've been saving it forever, but I felt like, okay, this is probably a good one to get that used on. So 5 minutes in. All right, let's open the book. So there's 4 big fat signatures in this book, several pages, and so let's go ahead and take a look at it. On the inside cover, on the front and the back, I used this paper. It's flocked, and it was really light, so what I just did was I used my distress ink to run it along like the flocking to give it a more aged look on the inside. But I think that turned out like really pretty because it looks like it's really distressed from the edges in. I went lighter on the inside to give it that real distressed look. There's going to be a big mixture of everything in here because, like I said, she wanders about, she goes from place to place, and she's giving messages and receiving messages all along her way. So there's a big mix of everything in here. So I just, here at the front, I just have a little button card. I did do some distressing in the book as well. And I just have this image here. I thought that was kind of like neat, like she's watching her. And I did do some collaging as well, little ephemera collages. I did do some stamping on the pages. So here's some more of that, what I believe is hand. If you guys can see this well, and if you know what it looks like, if you can tell me if that's hand tatted, because I think it is. Like if you look at the loops where, right here, where the lace connects, like it really looks like somebody did this by hand. So I think that's really kind of really neat. So in here I've just did a little coffee stained piece of paper, some stamping on there. I like this old piece of paper here. I just made a pocket. There's a tag in here, and then I have one of my old vintage airmail envelopes. I left that blank for you. And I have my little crystal ball down there. This is one of my vintage book plates. And I had a lot of these Rolodex, like address book kind of things. And I saw Miss Nikki, who's Musings by Nikki. She did a lot of this in one of her recent books. So I was like, oh, that's a super good idea. So I'll link to her channel down below. But that's just what I did with these. I just stamped on them, distressed them, and then I punched a little eyelet through them. And then I added on some of the Tim Holtz tokens. As you can see, like they have little sayings, like this one says, all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. And then the eyelash trim comes from Papered Soul. So this is just a vintage photo that I printed out because if she has a photograph of who she needs to be in contact with, it makes it easier for her to like get through to them. So I have some Tim Holtz there. She's got some postcards on hand, and I wanted these to be like something that she could have in her book so that if she needed to immediately send a message out, she's got them at the ready, and then they're all stamped out and ready to go. So here I have a tag that I just coffee stained, and then these little flowers, I put them in here to signify like when a message is delivered or when something she was setting out to do has been done. So maybe whatever she's planning to write on this tag is done, and so this is an indication of, you know, this is at peace, this has been done. So here I just did some stamping on this like thin paper so you can see the stamp on both sides. I have a harvest page from the Ideals magazine, and I put it in because this book, like I said, she talks about autumn leaves in there. So, I mean, in the song she talks about autumn leaves. So as you can see, lots of distressing. There's a little index card that I stained up. So here's the center of the first signature. It says, "Can't stop loving you." I thought that was kind of fitting for people who want to constantly be reaching out to people. So I just made a little booklet out of some scrap paper. And this is that like sort of banana leaf kind of ribbon that I have. And then I just stapled some Tim Holtz ephemera onto the front. Some gesso on there, some old vintage music paper. These are some little like wooden pieces, and I just did some like stamping on them, and I also decoupaged some book pages on them to like have like just to give it a little interest in the book, and it's a little token that maybe she picked up along the way. Over here I have a little coffee stained glassine bag envelope, and on the inside I have more of those like little flowers, and those are there so that she can pick them apart and, you know, tape them into areas of the book where she's completed the task that she's after. So I also printed out some of those 1800 those letters from the 1800s, and so like I said, this was a kit, but I printed them on some scrap paper that I had, and they all had like floral designs on the back. So here's a little floating little pocket thingy, and again, this is Dolly's tutorial. I'll link to it below. So I have vintage calling cards here on the inside. One is for Richard K. Galley and one is for Abby F. Shaw. And I thought that was kind of neat because maybe that was her maiden name before she got married here. And it says, "We go together like cookies and milk." And then on the inside here, I have another tiny little envelope in here with the little writing spot. I'm not going to pull it out because it's going to take me forever. And this is a fabric pocket. So here, this is like an old receipt paper, nice and grunged up. And then a big tag here that I just stained. So I sewed some little random trim on here. This is a little watercolor tag. And then I have 4 paperclip charms on the book. This is the first one. It's like a little leaf with a little crystal charm on there. And then I have the old vintage button card on here as well. Some more collaging and stamping. And in here, I've got some more of that hand-tatted lace, and it's one of those layaway envelopes on the front. Here's what it looks like. I just did a little collage there on the front, and there's a tag on the inside. So I have a little vellum pocket here, and then this is one of my watercolor tags. And then again, like I said, she mentions autumn leaves in the song, so I wanted to put in a little lot of some autumn leaves. So this is what they look like, and they're all like on some autumn colored cardstock that I had. In the centers of the signatures, there's some really pretty trim that I put down in there. If you can see it, there's the trim. So here, this one here that I sewed onto the start of the second signature, that's a real vintage photograph that I had in my stash. So I just sewed that on here with some like vellum, I guess, and I distressed that. I just added it on there for some extra texture. So here's another one of those charms, a little bead. I did some decoupaging here, as you can see, and then there's more stamping on the page. This is the spine. This is the spine of the actual book cover that I used for this book. So I just turned it into part of this little floating pocket. And on the back we have a nice big lace pocket as well. And then I put this one is another real vintage photo. Maybe she needs to know the house or what the house looks like so she can go there. And then these are two more vintage calling cards that I have. So I have a little book page back here. This might be some kind of a blueprint that she needs to get delivered. Somebody needs to let them know how to finish the table. And then there's just a little tag, some more stamping. I just let this page fold out. Maybe if you want to finish reading it. There's another vintage photo that I printed out. And then here's a vintage like plate that I had, and I thought that this would be kind of neat because, again, maybe it's a location that she might need to go to. And you can see here on the back it tells you the plate and the plate number. It's a little fabric here. So this piece of the doily, I just sewed it onto the page to make a little pocket, and then there's another vintage photograph that I printed out. I thought this book page was neat because it says Benjamin on one side and Peter on the other, but you know, I just put them in really mostly because of the names. Maybe she might need to know those names for someone she needs to look for. So here's another one of those index cards, and on this one it says Destiny, and I just have that paper clipped onto the side here. And then in here we've got 2 more of those postcards that I made for her to take with her. There's the center. Here's another large watercolor tag and a decoupage, some napkin on there, and I just have one of these circle tags up here at the top, and just a little collage on the pocket. Here's a book page pocket. This is a little embossed piece, and some more ephemera. So here's some more of that tatting, and just some extra writing paper. See got my little skull guy right there. So here's that embellishment piece that I just did a tutorial on. If you haven't seen it yet, I will link that down below as well. But I just have a ticket that I tucked in there, and then the eyelash trim that opens up, and then this tag is holding the whole piece closed, and you can open it, and then inside I have to put a little tag in here. So that's what that looks like. And then in here, just tucked in a little index card. Have a little crocheted flower here. And there's a tag, a book page tag in here that I've stitched around and I've added gesso onto. So it closes up like that. And then you just tie up your eyelash trim. And then I just tuck this back in here. And then behind, what this is actually resting on is the book page. So behind that, I just have another little ephemera piece tucked back there. So here's another one of those crinkly vellum pockets. I love them, but they add such great texture. And then here's another one of those little wooden tags that I've done, and I've just gessoed again on some book page there for interest. It's a little tag with another small tag attached to it. I thought this poem was really nice, and it also has the same kind of leaves on it, so I thought that was, it's about remembrance if I'm not mistaken. And I just lit this paper. In the center we have a nice big old owl, and it's like a ceramic kind of a piece, so it is going to be delicate. So, but yeah, I thought that was really pretty, and I just attached that. And then you do have the trim here in the center of the book also. Some more of those postcards. Another one of those wooden tags, and I put a little cog on this one, just a little trinket there she might have picked up. Some more book page and another tag. And I did some stamping on that. So here we have another one of those like crunchy vellum pages, and then you can see the flowers are attached here. So whatever's in here is complete as far as she's concerned. And this envelope is actually from a vintage sale that I went to, a estate sale that I went to. So it's a vintage envelope, and then these pictures were inside of the envelope, so I just left them both in here. But as you can see, they're real vintage photos, and here we have the duo, and then maybe this was the house that they purchased. This writing was on the envelope as well, so I just left that there. I think it says Stash House and Barn, Portland Road, something, Ohio. So have a nice little doily piece in there. This is a vintage book page, but I liked the poems that were on here, so I just taped those in. I love that staining. So this is an envelope that I just kind of altered. I just collaged on it. And then on the inside, we've got another one of those big watercolor tags that I made. Super pretty. So you can do, it is covered, it is distressed with distressed ink. So if you do want to do some more watercoloring on that, keep in mind that that is distress ink. So it might move, it will move around. So another pocket here, and behind we've got another one of those Rolodex thingies, and this one says listen, because you know she's got to listen to the things that she is being told. And then I have another printed out vintage photograph here with that. And the grass won't pay no mind. And then inside of there, it's like a doily piece that I just turned into an envelope, and I just put a little tag in there. So here we have the third charm. It's a little spool. And so I just attached this around the page. And this is Melanie's tutorial, so I will link to that down below, but I love these. So I just attached this little metal piece here with some sari silk, and then on the inside it says specialist. And then I thought it would be kind of funny to add this card in because it's talking about writer's cramp. So she's got a lot of writing to do with all the messages and such that she's getting. And then another watercolor tag that's just tucked in here. And a little tag on this side as well. There's another tag with a little tag on it. And then here's another one of those plates. I thought that was kind of an interesting one to add in. And then I did add some more of that tatted doily on here and some Tim Holtz paper because it just goes. The other piece of that doily. Some lace. I love that staining that happened. Some trim there. I like the poem that was on here as well. So I left those in there. And then another one of the watercolor tags that I made. And this is like a vellum pocket. So it has like an actual pocket, and then the book page is tucked behind it. Here is another one of those letters from the 1800s. And then that's the back. So here is another large watercolor tag with the little metal circle tag attached, and that's the back. Some collaging, and then I just stitched and I add some gesso in there. So I have some Tim Holtz, I think that's Tim Holtz, and then just a little cutoff of the index card, and I attached another little tag to that. I forgot to mention, I think there's two sections. One of them is somewhere else in the book, but this one has like texture on it. It's like a really coarse texture that I have, and I thought that that would be kind of like you know, like how the tombstones are like really gritty and cement. I thought that would be kind of like how that, you know, would play into that. Okay, back here, large Tim Holtz paper. I just have some lace there as a belly band. And then I used a little Tim Holtz thing that says small contributions. The envelope is all distressed up. I have one of my tarot cards in here. This one is for a tower. And then behind that, this is a real vintage photograph that I have. So it's a beautiful picture, and it's so old. And there is some writing on the back. It says Catherine Forrest with a question mark. So a little fabric here. And another another watercolor tag, and just a pink tag and some more of that tatting. I love that so much. I still have a bit left. Another large watercolor tag. Here's another real vintage photograph. You can see the couple here. And the final paperclip charm, this little skull. And then another one of those envelopes that I collaged onto the front of. Some more of that tatting. It's everywhere. And a watercolor tag on the inside as well. Oh, I thought that was kind of neat on this collage. This stamp says, "On the first day of Christmas, my true love sent to me," and then it has this little girl with the gift. So I thought that was kind of neat. I have the map page in here because she might need to know where she's going sometimes. Some more ephemera there. Another one of those Melanie. And this one has the little skull cameo guy on it. And some sorry silk. And then this one, I left it empty on the inside. But I love these so much. I like it too because these book pages have names on them. So, you know, that might be a clue in for her as to who she's looking for. There's the center. So Kim gave me these super neat pen nibs, and I thought that was perfect because I needed pen nibs, and they're like little puffy texture stickers. So that was absolutely perfect. Perfect, darling. Some Tim Holtz here, and I have two more of those postcards. You can see the canceled out stamps on here. These ones are neat also. These are real like canceled out stamps. They're not fake. So this envelope, if you guys remember the old scrapbook that I got of Arlene's, this envelope is one of Arlene's, and as you can see, it's got the flower there, so that task is complete. And so I just glued this envelope onto the page. This is one of those canceled out stamps because maybe this was mailed. And so on the inside, this was a real piece of ephemera from Arlene's estate. And so this says, "To a grade school graduate, so you made the grade." Did I though? And then on the inside, it says, "Good going." And then down here, the note says, "Sorry, dear, I must have picked the wrong card. I love you and will miss you, and please write a whole lot and remember me when you wear it. Love, your Dawn." So this is the little card. And so since he was saying remember me when you wear it, I found this Tim Holtz little card that I had, and this lady was dressed really fancily, so I made a tuck spot behind the envelope. And I thought maybe he was talking about, you know, remembering him when she's wearing all of this fancy fur, fancy hats and all. So that task is complete. This little tag. Another vintage photograph that I printed out. This one is a printed one. So I did mix it up with some printed out vintage photos and some of my real vintage photographs just to mix it up. So here's another one of the watercolor tags with some trim on the side there. I left the little 7 Gypsy strip on there because I thought that was kind of neat. This is a little cutoff from the watercolors tags that I was making, and then we have a book page in here. Oh, this is the one about remembrance. I tore this page kind of weird, and I didn't care. Like, this is hanging out of the book, but I thought that, you know, just added to it. So here on this page, just a paper clip. This actually will just flip up. It's in French, so if you can read French. And then inside of this pocket, something really special to me. Miss Shayna had given me a page where she was doing some doodling and scribbling on it, and so I tore a piece of that off. And so all of the, let me use my bookmarker, all of the scribblings and doodlings that you see on this page were actually done by Shayna. So I thought that was something really neat and kind of special to add to this book. There was more stuff off to the left, so I wanted to just share a little bit, but I wanted to keep some for myself as well. So that will go in here. Here's another one of the final one of these Rolodex card thingies. And I have just a little leaf at the bottom here. I thought that was kind of pretty. Some more collaging. And the final one of those letters from the 1800s. I'll link to where you guys can get this if you're interested. But they're scan-ins, so they were real at one point. And then these images on the back. And I just made a belly band out of that book page and then just did a little collage on there. There's my stamp. Oh, goodness gracious, you guys. This book is huge. And that is it. Hoo, hoo, hoo. So this is my first project that I completed since I've, since I got better, I should say. So this video is 1,000 years long, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. This is going to be up in my Etsy shop, so all of the information is going to be linked down below if you're interested in this one. That is going to wrap it up for me for now. Be sure to stay tuned because you never know what direction this odd flock of ours is heading into. And until next time, toodaloo.